Namaste. Namaste, everyone. A warm welcome to the Sunday evening transformational meditation class in English. First of all, my deep gratitude to our beloved masters, Dr. Newton Kondaveti and Dr. Lakshmi Newton, for giving me this opportunity and for giving this platform to all of us to meditate together. For this evening, we have chosen a beautiful topic. Who am I? It is the wisdom of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi that we will be discussing. It is not an intellectual discussion because it's a very simple process Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi shared. And before understanding the process, we have to understand the life journey of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. And after that, we will briefly discuss about the self-inquiry process. And then we will use the process in a meditation. So the purpose of understanding the process, we have to understand the life journey of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. And after that, we will briefly...
Sorry, sir.
Okay. So, yeah, let me continue. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi was born in the year 1879 in a remote village in Tamil Nadu. The boy was named as Ramana. The boy had no interest in school. He used to be very reluctant in the worldly affairs. And once he made paper boats with important legal documents of his father, and he released the boats in the rainwater. So his father scolded him. These are very important documents and you use them as boats. And then out of fear, Bhagwan Venkatramana, the boy Venkatramana, he ran at the age of 6 and he hid himself behind the idol of goddess inside a temple. And later he was put in a school, and when his father died, he moved to his paternal uncle's house, and there he was schooled. He went to a school and then a high school. At the age of 17, the young boy, Venkatramana, had a near-death experience. He felt like he's dying. He's about to die. So in that moment, the young boy thought to himself, I should experience this death so that I will know what death is. So this curiosity came to this young boy. Today, at any cost, no matter what, I will face this death. And he tried to actually increase that fear of death. He took this as an experiment. He lied down as if his body is dying, and he acted like as if he is dying. He stopped his breath. He didn't move his body. He made his body extremely still. And then he felt that the body is dying. He experienced death. But everything else is alive. Only his body is dying. And in that moment, there is an awakening. In this young boy, an awakening came. And that awakening is the experience of the true self. So then he realized that he is not just this body. This body is not this I. And this I is the pure self. And the self started shining. And from that day onwards, this young boy, his awareness is deeply rooted in this self. He was completely absorbed into the self. He was doing all the activities, going to the school, going to the home. But no matter what, his mind didn't move away from this experience of the self. Was completely absorbed, and he completely became antarmukha, which means that his mind turned inward. His mind, from that moment, never escaped from the self. It was completely absorbed. That is antarmukha. But when this mind goes outside the self, it is called bahyamukha. Then the mind becomes dispersed. It becomes dispersed. And it is engaged in so many things in the outer world. That is bahyamukha. So first 17 years, Ramana described his life as he lived like a bahyamukha, where his mind is dispersed away from the self and absorbed in the outer world, the worldly activities. But after the near-death experience at the age of 17, he became antarmukha. His mind is totally absorbed into the self. And the outside world looked like an illusion for him. One day, he was given 5 rupees by his elder brother to pay the school fee for both himself and his elder brother. So Ramana, that night, he decided to leave the home in search of Arunachala. He heard the word Arunachala from an elderly man, and from that day, he had this deep yearning, deep desire to go to Arunachala. He found in the atlas map where this place Arunachala is, and he decided to leave all his belongings. So he took 3 rupees out of the 5 rupees. He wrote a small letter to his elder brother that I am going in search of my true self. Don't look for me. Don't waste your money in my search. I am going on in an inward search. So he left that letter along with 2 rupees and he took 3 rupees and he left. And his journey took 3 days. He went on in a bus, train, and by walk. And finally, on the 3rd day, he reached Tiruvannamalai. And he went inside the temple, the Arunachala temple. And he couldn't move away from that place. He stayed in that place for several days. He slept there. And everyone started throwing stones at him. He didn't look like a sage. For them, they thought he's crazy. Why he is spending time sleeping here? And sometimes he just sits in stillness, not speaking a word, not eating any food. So then a Swami recognized the radiance of Venkatramana and he gave him a safe place beneath the temple. He gave him a safe place. And Venkatramana stayed there for few weeks. And after that, he left the place in search of Arunachala hill. And he went up the hill and he stayed in several caves on the hill. A Virupaksha cave. It is the cave where Ramana Maharshi spent 17 years without speaking and rarely eating or drinking water. So quickly word got spread around the Tiruvannamalai city and so many visitors used to come. But now Ramana never spoke a single word. After 17 years, Ramana Maharshi, one disciple named him as Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. From that day onwards, Venkatramana was called as Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. So people were eager to understand Ramana Maharshi's teachings, but Ramana hardly spoke. Even Ramana Maharshi's mother came to him and they tried to persuade and take him back to their village. But Ramana didn't speak even a single word. Finally, his mother wanted some explanation. So Ramana wrote few words. Whatever has to happen cannot be changed. It is better to remain in silence rather than trying to change things. So that's the message he gave to his mother. So his mother went back and finally she came back to Ramana Maharshi and stayed with him. till the end of her life. So Ramana Maharshi shared his wisdom in the form of question and answers. So the seeker, visitors asked him questions. And one of the seeker, he compiled these question and answers. There were 28 questions and answers. They were compiled into a small text, which is later published as a book called Who Am I? It's a very small book. It has 28 questions and answers, but it has all the wisdom. In these question and answers, Bhagavan shared a process called self-inquiry. The inquiry into who am I, into the thought, who am I? So I will share few principles of this practice, self-inquiry. And after that, we will spend rest of the time in the meditation, the self-inquiry practice. Our mind is a great tool. It is a phenomenal tool. And this mind is nothing but a collection of thoughts. There are so many thoughts. And all these thoughts are together called mind. This mind is a very subtle aspect which comprises of all the thoughts. So if we start observing a thought, when there is a thought, if we give all our attention to the thought and ask this question, where is this thought coming from? Am I this thought? Then we realize that all these thoughts are false. Then we fall into this thought, who am I? This is the first thought that comes in the mind. All the thoughts are coming out of the I. I am is the first thought. All other thoughts are an offspring of this thought, I am. So when we give all our attention to the thought, I am, or to the question, who am I, then all the thoughts are dissolved. So finally, we give all the attention to the thought, I am, to this question, who am I? And then this thought that I am also will be dissolved. When this thought is dissolved, the self shines. That is the true self. That is the true nature. So this is a very simple practice. And Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi says this is the most powerful practice to go to our true self. It is a direct inquiry into our true nature. All the other processes, mantra or japa or controlling the breath, they only give temporary benefits. According to Ramana Maharshi, self-inquiry or inquiry into who am I can dispel all the faults and reveal the truth. So he says one should continue this practice with sincerity. And then only one can find the true self. When the mind becomes Bahyamukha, it loses its strength because it is now dispersed into infinite number of thoughts. So it loses its energy, it loses its strength. So we cannot focus, bring our attention onto the question, who am I? But when we turn inward, when we become Antarmukha, the mind becomes one-pointed. It becomes very powerful, extremely focused. So Ramana Maharshi says this thought, I, is the first thought. All other thoughts are an offspring of this thought. So we have to catch the first thought. And what happens after catching the first thought? Even that thought also will dissolve. For example, he gives a beautiful analogy. When there is a fire made of firewood, one takes one stick to stir the firewood so that the fire continues to burn. So all the remaining sticks will be burned to ashes. And at the end, the stick that is used to stir the firewood, that will also be burnt. So similarly, the thought I am, we are using this thought to burn the rest of the thoughts, to dissolve the rest of the thoughts. And at the end, the thought I am will also dissolve into the self, revealing pure self, which is beyond the mind. Someone asked this question, can we realize the self when we are in the mind? Is it possible? Why can't we be in the mind and realize the self? Then Ramana Maharshi says, when we are in the mind, the world appears. When we are in the self, the world disappears. So it is so simple. So when we are in the self, there is no world. There is only self. And when we are in the mind, there is only world. And the misery of the world and the suffering of the world and the duality of the world. When we make this mind one-pointed, on the root thought, I am. And eventually, the root thought also dissolves. Then we are completely absorbed in the self. And then the world disappears as it is. There is only self. There is no world. Such a person is Jivan Mukta, who is awakened at alive. So Ramana Maharshi says, the first thought, I am, it originates in the heart. It starts from the heart. So heart is the birthplace of the first thought, not the mind. And this first thought that is born in the heart, that I am, which is the root of the ego structure. This first thought, it creates the entire ego structure. But it is born in the heart. And when it is born in the heart and it comes into the brain, this thought, and this thought, when it reaches the brain, it becomes innumerable thoughts. And it creates the world through the brain. And he gives a beautiful example, like how the light that is focused on a film creates a movie on the screen behind it. Just like that, the world is a creation of this mind. It is not real. The film is the thought, and these thoughts are projected as if they are real. So when we remove the thought, when we remove the film, there is only pure light. So the process of self-inquiry is to catch the root thought. Not to let this root thought come into the mind and create the world. So this root thought is held, is kept safely in the heart only. This root thought is enclosed in the heart. And then what happens when this root thought itself is enclosed in the heart? All the false thoughts, all the thoughts that are creating the world, they dissolve. And only the heart remains. This root thought remains. And eventually this root thought also dissolves into the self, leaving the self shining. And with this practice, we go beyond the fear of death, beyond the fear of illness, beyond the fear of insecurity. It's very profound, very deep. Because all the fears are rooted in the mind, and the mind is rooted in the past. And all the drama of the past, we are stuck in the minds. And this process of self-inquiry, it chops off everything that is false. The entire past is false. It is no more relevant. But we hold on to it. So we transcend the fears, we transcend the insecurities. And the biggest fear is the fear of death. We transcend that. And we become curious, we become very experimentative. We want to find out. And this is the spirit of a scientist. Ramana Maharshi is a great scientist. He wanted to find out at the age of 17, he did an experiment. Let me die now and see what remains. That's his experiment. And then he realized that there is no death. Only the body is dying, but everything else is there. All his thoughts, the feeling of I is still there. The sense of I, the root thought is still there without the body. So that is what is the first discovery he made. Ramana Maharshi made this first discovery at the age of 17, that even without body, I exist. So one day after the death of his mother was guided by Ramana. Ramana became the guru or teacher or guide for his mother. And she became enlightened. She realized herself. And Ramana also used to have a cow named Lakshmi. And Ramana even guided Lakshmi to enlightenment. Cow became enlightened. So they made the samadhi for Ramana Maharshi's mother at the foot of the hill. So one day, Ramana Maharshi decided to move to the foot of the hill. And he just moved there. And that is the beginning of the Ramana Maharshi ashram on the foots of the sacred hill, Arunachala. The hill that you see on the background of this screen, that is the Arunachala hill, the sacred mountain, which Ramana Maharshi considers as Lord Shiva. So that is the beginnings of the creation of the Ramana Maharshi ashram. And Ramana didn't leave the Arunachala hill or the foots of the hill. He spent rest of his life. The moment he reached Arunachala as a young boy at the age of 17 in the year 1896, till 1950, he never left, not even a single day. He left Arunachala. Only visitors used to come to him from all around the world, but he never left the place. And during the year 1950, on April 4th, he took his last breath. He had a condition in his body, cancerous growth on his muscles, I think on his hand. It's a means. There should be some means for this body to end. And many of his disciples, they requested Ramana Maharshi pleaded him to stay in the body, to don't go, then his answer was very simple. Where am I going? I am not going anywhere. I will always be here. So today also, his presence can be very strongly felt at Ramana Maharshi's ashram. And sitting next to his samadhi, one can have a beautiful experience of this process, self-inquiry process. Becomes very easy to be with the root thought, I am, and ask this question, who am I? It becomes very simple. When we do this, in his presence there. So a miraculous event happened. At the same time, Ramana Maharshi took his last breath at 8:14 p.m., I think. And exactly at the same time, many people saw a shooting star coming from the south and towards the Arunachala hill, and finally it disappeared with a huge glow of light near the Arunachala hill. Exactly at the same time, it was a great astronomical event reported, and it was reported even in the newspapers. It was a meteor. It is a sign indicating that an enlightened being became one with the light. It became light. It came out of the body and merged into the light. So coming back to the self-inquiry process, let us now bring our attention to few principles, and then we will do the meditation. The first principle is Antarmukha principle. We have to draw our attention inward, not let the mind wander, but instead make the mind seated in the heart, because heart is the origin of the mind. This is the Antarmukha principle. We apply this during the meditation. No matter what, we will not let the mind wander. We will not let all the secondary thoughts created. And we will, as a scientist, we will experiment and see if the world really ends or not. Because Ramana Maharshi says, world is an illusion, it's a creation of the endless train of thoughts that are followed by the root thought, the I am thought. So if we can become Antarmukha, if we can rest our awareness in the root thought, I am, and ask this question, who am I? Then this root thought doesn't escape. The mind doesn't escape from the heart, and it becomes centered in the heart. And this is the first principle, Antarmukha. And then the second principle is continuing this questioning, who am I? And our response to this question should be very honest. I do not know who am I. That is my first response to this question. If we know who you are, then that is the end of the search. If you think that you know who you are, that's the end of the search. For a seeker, he is not satisfied with intellectual answers. Only when there is a direct experience, then only a seeker is satisfied. So when we acknowledge that I do not know, it's a great opening. It creates a beautiful opening through which we can make this whole process of inquiry. It simplifies. So this is the second principle. I do not know who I am. I may think I am this person, I am so and so. I may think that I am good, bad, ugly. I may think that I am tall, short, fat. I may think that I am intelligent, I am stupid. But the second principle is acknowledging we really do not know who we are. Very simple. Just acknowledge that we don't know. And then the third principle is resting this awareness, all our attention on who am I. Because we do not know, now we want to know. Not knowing is a fertile ground for knowing. If we know everything, then what is there to know? So we create in the second principle a fertile ground for knowing. We acknowledge that we don't know. And in the third principle, we become curious to know. And we reject all the false answers. Mind will interfere. It will give you so many answers. But we are so curious, so eager to know, to find out the truth, that we are not satisfied with any of the mind's answers. Then how do we know that we know? When there is no trace of doubt, then we know that we know. When there is not even this question, whether am I realized, whether now I know my true self or not, if this question is there, then it's not a direct experience. Then we have not yet reached that direct experience. It's a very simple state of knowing, and this question is no more. Then who am I question is no more needed. Because this question also is dissolved. The root thought is also dissolved in the self. And all remains is the true self shining brightly. And Ramana Maharshi was asked once, is it only possible for great yogis who reside in Himalayas? Or when one becomes realized in this self-inquiry process, they should renounce the world and go into forest or go to Himalayas and meditate. And Bhagavan Maharshi's answer was very straightforward. He said, no, there is no need. In fact, one should not leave the world. Because for such a person, the world doesn't exist. Where is the question of leaving the world when the world doesn't exist? Only the self exists. When self is there, world is not there. When world is there, self is not there. It's very clear. His teaching is very, very utterly clear and authentic. There is no ambiguity. There is no scope for doubt. And when the world is not there, where is the question of leaving the world? You stay absorbed in the self, completely absorbed in it, and you are now one with it. And and it's a very different worldview. Only we have to experience what Bhagavan has said. And I am honest, I have not experienced it. I may have glimpses of it. I may have had glimpses. But I have this earning. I am a seeker. And I want to experience. So this curiosity is an essential quality of the seeker. And when we rest our awareness in the third principle on this question, when this question itself dissolves, then there are no more questions. Then there is only self. Because in this state, the self becomes the whole world. There is no division between the world and the self. And love becomes natural, compassion becomes natural, wisdom becomes natural. Because when you see, it is a very practical wisdom. When you see that you are the self and you are the world, then you don't hurt anyone. You don't feel jealous. You don't feel angry. Simply, they cannot exist because there is no more you and I. There is only one. That is the self. So these are the three principles that we apply during the self-inquiry process. One is the Antarmukha principle, where we hold our awareness in the root thought, not allowing the mind to come out of the heart and create this world for us. And the second principle is creating a fertile ground for this process, acknowledging that I do not know who I am. And the third one is the resting our awareness on the root thought, I am, and asking the question, who am I? Until the root thought itself is dissolved. So friends, I invite you all to now sit in a meditative posture. Let us do this self-inquiry process. Let us be curious like Ramana. What happens to me if I die? Do I really die? Or I still exist after the bodily death? Not intellectually knowing these answers through books, but finding out for ourselves. So let us close our eyes. Gently bring your attention to your thoughts. Just let them be. All kinds of thoughts coming and going. Just let them be. There is nothing to do. Nowhere to go. Let us now feel inspired by Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi. Let us take his inspiration and let us do this self-inquiry. Slowly bringing your attention to your heart. As you breathe in, breathe out. Bring all your attention to your heart center. Now, you are going to rest your awareness on this thought, I am. This thought is born in the heart. This thought, I am, is born in the heart. All other thoughts are born from this thought that I am. Now gently bring your awareness into your heart where this thought, I am, is born. If your mind keeps on wandering, gently become aware and bring your attention into the heart. Become aware of all the movements in the mind. The mind is continuously moving from one thought to the other. You are now an observer with this curiosity. Just like a scientist, you are curious and you want to observe this phenomena. The mind is continuously moving. This is the nature of mind. The content of the thought is of no interest. It can be a good thought, a bad thought, a horrible thought, or a pleasant thought. It is of no interest to us. We are only observing the phenomena of thought, how the mind is moving from one thought to the other. And now gently bring your attention to your heart center. Now ask this question, who am I? Bring all your attention to this question, who am I? The mind may give several answers. Just observe them. I am so and so. I am this. I am that. I am the body. I am the work that I do. I am my feelings and thoughts. I am my ideas. I am all my actions, my good actions and my bad actions. Continue this inquiry till you reach a state of no more need to question, not be satisfied with the answers of the mind. Just continue this questioning. Who am I? And acknowledge that you do not know. I do not know. Who am I? It's okay not to know. When we acknowledge that we do not know who we truly are, it is such a relief. We need not live in the false. It is the beginning of the search. Allow yourself to completely acknowledge, I do not know who I am. Repeatedly bringing your attention to the question. Feel this question in your heart. Who am I? It is the question that is coming from your heart. Feel this question. Rest all your awareness in your heart and the question in your heart. Who am I? If the mind says, I am the body, the mind says, I am the feelings, not, do not be satisfied with this answer. Continue the questioning. Allow yourself to still your mind. The mind becomes utterly still when you rest the awareness in your heart with this curiosity to find who I am. The question burning in your heart, who am I? This is the root thought. Feel this question burning in your heart, who am I? Because it is a doorway to end all the misery, all the suffering, to end all the ignorance. It is a doorway to light, to wisdom, to knowing. You are not completely there, not there yet, but it is a doorway. Allow yourself to be with this feeling of the question, the sensation of this question, who am I, in your heart. Just stay there. And as the mind becomes quiet, it becomes effortless to bring your awareness into your heart, into this question. There is nothing to do. There is no need to find answers. There is no effort involved to find the answer. All the effort is on this single question, bringing the awareness to this single question, who am I? And the mind is still, you become antarmukha, withdrawing from the senses, withdrawing from the world, into the heart. resting in the awareness of your heart and the question in your heart. When you are in the heart, when you are in this root thought, who am I? The mind becomes still. The mind is still like a clear lake. Just be still. In this stillness, allow this root thought also to dissolve if it has to. Just be in this utter silence, stillness. Bring all your awareness to this question, who am I? If the question is still there, just bring all your awareness to the question, who am I? As the mind becomes quiet and still, it becomes centered in the heart. It doesn't escape from the heart. Your entire mind is now centered in the heart. In this state, the Antarmukha state, there is no fear of the outer world, of the future. There is no fear of the death. You are completely at ease with yourself. Just like how the sun can be obscured by the clouds, the light of the sun cannot reach when it is obscured by the clouds. Similarly, the shining light of the self cannot be seen when it is obscured by the mind and its illusory creations. In this state, when there is no more mind, the mind is still completely at ease, resting in the heart. Now, the natural, effortless light, the shining light of the self reveals itself. Feel this sense of newness, sense of wonder. Allow this awareness beyond the mind. Rest your awareness in this experience beyond the mind. The effortlessly shining self is like thousand suns rising at the same time. Just be there. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Expanding this awareness into this experience of the self beyond the mind, into this light that is shining. Into this self that is always there. Last 1 minute, you are now going to slowly bring your awareness back to your heart center. Feel your heart. Feel your breath. The in-breath and the out-breath. Allow yourself to bring your awareness to the root thought, I am. Which is born in the heart. Feel this stillness, the ease, peace. Even a glimpse of the self, the shining self, can bring a lot of ease. Will dissolve all the restlessness of the mind. Feel this rest, this state of ease, clarity and stillness in your mind. Now, allow yourself to slowly bring your awareness to your body. Feel your body. with a sense of wonder towards the body, towards your own existence in this body. And as I count 5 to 1, you will be fully aware and fully awake in this present moment. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feeling your body, gently rub your palms and place them on your eyes, eyelids, and slowly, slowly open your eyes whenever you are ready. Feeling this new sense of peace, ease, tranquility, effortless joy. Thank you, everyone, for joining this meditation, for doing this collective group meditation. It's a beautiful experience because when we do this satsang, this is a satsang because we are all like-minded and we want to learn something together. Even if it is an online platform, we can still share our energies. And when we do this meditation collectively, we feel this collective group is awakening us, is uplifting us. That's the beauty of the satsang. And thank you everyone for joining this evening meditation. And you are welcome to ask any questions or share any experience. We have few minutes. I think we are out of time, but we can do some sharing or questions.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a wonderful one more session from you. Yeah, friends, please raise a hand. We'll unmute you. Any experience or any questions also fine. Yeah.
Okay. I wish you all a happy evening, this happy Sunday evening. Thank you for taking your time to join this group meditation. And we will meet again in the next Sunday class. Thank you once again from all of us here at QLU. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.